everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I have not one tutorial but three, all starting with the same background. Three sizes, three substrates. Let's get started. So we're starting with this colorful Valentine's themed, love theme napkin. And I'm just showing you there's a trademark mark on it. So you're going to want to be aware if there is that mark. You want to avoid it, or you're going to have to put something on it after. So right now I am sizing this up, deciding where I want to put this napkin, if I want the border, on my 7x10 Canson Mixed Media Art Journal page. I take it out of the coils and I tape off the edge to keep a straight edge and to keep all the gunk from getting into the coils. So I'm putting a layer of fluid matte medium down, and then I'm placing the napkin on. Now here I kind of did it backwards, and I get a lot of wrinkles, and I don't mind those wrinkles. In the upcoming substrates, when I glue it down, I do it piece by piece, and I'll show that, and that's a way to prevent more wrinkles from happening. But just embrace them. So here I just want these X's and O's in these lovely colors we've got. It's kind of yellow or orange, red, purple tones. I'm absolutely loving the colors. Now I put one on a tag. This is on a 5x7 watercolor card. I'm taping off the edge and I'm going to glue. I'm deciding what orientation I want. So here, before I do that, I decide I'm going to add some script underneath it to have peeking through. As much as I love the background, I thought, oh, you know what, let's do something a little bit different. So I'm making sure that that's completely dry before I put any matte medium on it. I'm going to put the border at the bottom, and I lay the napkin down. Then I flip it up and apply the adhesive fluid matte medium on the top and bring it down. Now on this, even though you can't see it, it is fairly wrinkle free. And then I flip up the other side and put that down. If you struggle getting without wrinkles, you do a small area at a time, and flipping it up and doing it in parts works. I'm also doing on an ATC blank that I have in my stash. But for the eagle eye, you'll notice that I did not finish this ATC. I think it's going in my stash, and I think it's going to become ephemera for another art journal page, a different art journal page instead of just an ATC. So once that's all dry, I'm flipping it over and cutting off all of the excess. Now, all those little pieces you can save. They can be glued down and become a layer in another art journal page or mixed media project. Such as my accidental art journal, Making Marvelous from the Discarded. All those little bits, I can glue those down in it. Now I planned on pretty much using the napkin as an Insta-Background. Done keeping it as it is. I'm just checking the edges here, making sure that it is adhered now that I've cut off the excess, and adding a little bit more of the fluid matte medium in case it isn't exactly glued down properly. So there we have our 4 substrates, 4 different sizes. I love round corners, so I am rounding the corners of the ATC. And remember, this is going to actually be an embellishment on an art journal page, so it'll show up in another upcoming video. This is just going into my stash of possibilities for other projects. So now that everything's dry, I want to keep going with the Valentine's Day, the love theme. And I have some hearts that I've cut out of tag board that I keep in my stash. They're various sizes, and I use them as tracers, as templates on projects. Then I went through my gel print and I pulled out a whole bunch of gel prints and collage papers that match the colors that were in the background. Now, if you don't have some that match and aren't as lucky as I was, you can just paint those collage papers, taking the colors from the napkin or the Insta-Background that you have. So I'm going to collage a bunch of hearts, and I want some that have more of that purple, some that have some of the red, and I'm just cutting a variety of them. I'm not sure exactly how many I want to have, but I know if I end up with extra, I can always use, it just goes in my bins and my stash to be used on other projects. On my desk, I've got 3 bins, one for collage papers, one's for focal images, and one's sentiments that I create in the process of doing art, and they just go in there. And then often I go there to see, oh, what possibilities exist. So you got some variation. I'm thinking maybe I want something a little more purple. This one has some purple with red. I cut it out, but it's the wrong shade of purple. So now I'm playing with the composition. And there is no right or wrong. There is simply what looks good to you. So keep playing till you're happy. And I'm keeping in mind, I'm going to put a sentiment. I want to put the sentiment, it's all about the X's and O's. So I'm keeping in mind I'm going to need a place to put that, either on top of a heart or on some of that napkin background. Now this is a super easy art journal page. What really pumps this up is the finishing details that we're going to add. And all the projects in this video are great for beginners. So now I'm taking my Ranger blending tool and foam, and I'm edging all the hearts. This is going to help them stand out from the background. This gives weight to your focal images, and you can see the ones that are done and the ones that aren't, what an addition this makes. I'm just giving it a good edging. Now, some of those hearts did not have enough purple in them, so I took some purple and I watered it down, and I'm kind of doing the smooshing technique and getting some splotches. I didn't want them to have a pattern. I could have stenciled on the pattern, but I didn't want to take away from the pattern in the background. So I thought smooshing is very organic. So I'm just dipping it into the wet paint and just getting that little bit of purple in a very organic way. And drying them off when they're done. So this is good use of collage papers or scrapbook papers or gel prints that you have. I know we collect them, but we have to make an effort to use them up. So now I wanted to put X's and O's on some of the hearts. And I looked at all my stamps looking for that, and then I realized I've got letter stamps. So I grabbed the right size, and I'm using my gel plate as a kind of stamp pad. I've got white acrylic paint, and I'm stamping X's and O's on some of the hearts. And I love this. And I think I need to do this projects. That brings what's in the background into the focal image. And you want to tie together colors, shapes, patterns from one part of your page to another. Now, if you don't have the napkin, this napkin, you could easily gesso a page and paint X's and O's on the background and hearts. They're very rustic, kind of watercolory. I think I might be doing that as well because I love the colors, and I think it would be cool even to do in a different color scheme. So I've got some hearts that have the X's and O's, some that don't. Now, because some of those X's and O's went right to the edge, I'm shading or edging some of those hearts with the black. You can even cut out hearts out of magazine pages, colored pages. If it was leaves or a sunset, you can color them and you get some amazing colors. So just finalizing the arrangement. And I've typed out the sentiment in a different font. This one is a little bit bigger, a little bit bolder. And I chose to make it bigger and bolder because I wanted it to stand out. And then now that I have the placement, I am putting my fluid matte medium underneath and then over top. And of course, you want to make sure that everything is completely dry. If it's not dry, even if it's acrylic paint, it needs a certain amount of time to dry before you start moving it around if you don't want it to bleed and especially when I have a white background here. It's very unforgiving. And I do place a couple of the hearts on either side, slightly off the page. And that's a good composition tip. The hearts are done. Now it's time to glue down the sentiment. So the colors that were used to create the gel prints are alizarin crimson or cadmium red with different purples. And you get that amazing color combo there. It's just a luscious color. Now I'm edging the page using my floating acrylic shading technique with the angle brush. Now, one of the things you have to be aware of, because it's a napkin and it's textured, it's material paper, sometimes it wicks differently than if it wasn't. So if you like the look, go with it, and if you don't, that's something you want to avoid. Grab my black Posca pen and I want to outline the sentiment just to give it a little more weight on the paper. Then I grab my angle brush and I'm adding more shading on the hearts. I wanted it a little bit more shaded than what I got with my blending foam. Then I decide, I had these dragonflies that I cut out. I used them on my Pantone Color of the Year page. I had some excess in my bins, and I thought, oh, adding a little bit of white on there, using a smaller scale stamp. If you have those smaller scale stamps, this is a way to use them on larger art journal pages. And I love dragonflies. Grab the white Posca pen and I'm going dash, a bit larger dash, and then 2 small dashes. You can alternate and come up with a different pattern for different projects. I just wanted to add white. It seemed to fit. This is setting off the hearts, and the doodling with the white shows up even more because I had the shading in the black. So every technique works together. Now I've sped up this video, but to get a nice opaque line, you're going fairly slow. Don't rush the doodling process. If you go too fast, that's when sometimes you don't get it as opaque as you would like. I'm taking off the tape across the top. And 7x10 art journal page is done. So now we're moving to the card. This is a 5x7 watercolor card, and I did some stamping on it with script stamp. Now that middle stamp was kind of not perfect, so I'm not too worried. I'm gluing one of those hearts from the collage papers from my gel print on top. And then I'm using some of that collage paper to back where I'm putting some of the sentiment. Again, I chose a bold font. You will always have a piece of my heart. And for the puzzle piece, I have an actual little puzzle that I purchased. I think it was the Dollar Tree. I've painted it white and I'm using an actual puzzle piece, but you can use a puzzle piece from an old puzzle. Paint it and put it on. And I'm gluing that all down with gel medium. And I'm shading around the heart like you saw me do with the first page. A lot of the finishing is the same. So here we have a smaller substrate, 5x7, and so we are using less focal images. Same color scheme, same background, with the addition of the script stamp. Oops, sorry about the shaking. I'm just edging it a little bit more with the Ranger blending foam to get a little bit darker. Each technique puts the paint there in a different way. And as you've seen me doing, I'm often doing twice, giving it a good dry. Now I'm adding some stitching around here, and this time I'm putting 3 tiny dots and a dash. And I decide to go around the border of the napkin or the card. Now it's textured, so you have to be careful when you're doodling. Anything that's textured isn't going to go on as smoothly. Switch to my black Posca, and I'm outlining the sentiments. Now I've done this on a card. This could be an art journal page. It could be on an index card. Mainly I'm showing you that it can be 3 different sizes. Typically larger sizes, I do more techniques, more focal, a bigger focal image, bigger font. Now I have these die cut hearts, and I am colorizing them with the red and purple. This is Brilliant Purple. It's Liquitex Basic and cadmium red, and I'm mixing it, and it gives the colors that are in the napkin. But other purples and reds will work too, so play with it if you're liking this color scheme. And I want the hearts to be similar but different. Just like the X's and O's in the background. Now this is, I think it's a size 8 shipping tag that I put gesso on before I glued the napkin on. And I'm going to have the heart swoop down. And I want to put the sentiment, follow your butterflies. So I look in my stash and I find this tiny little butterfly, and I'm stamping it on my copy paper with black acrylic paint. And once that's dry, I'm going to cut them out. Now, cutout tip. Around the antenna, where the weakest part is, if you do that before you cut out all the other stuff, it's a little bit easier. So I cut out around the antenna first, and then I do the rest of it. And when you have a bigger piece, it has more strength. So I've cut out all 3, and I'm going to put 1 butterfly on each heart. And I'm going to have the hearts swoop down the card, so your eye starts at the top and goes down. And I'm going to put my sentiment, follow your butterflies, again, on 1 on each heart. And I'm using gel medium here. Now this tag can be as it is, or I can take this tag and glue it as a focal image on an art journal page, just like I plan to do with that leftover ATC. So if you like making tags, they can be great focal images for a larger page. So once that's dry, I'm outlining the sentiment. And I'm splattering with white. I'm looking here and I'm thinking I could have outlined this with black, with the black Posca pen. I think that would have looked nice on this background. I did splatter all of them in the end because I like the look. And here are the 3 finished projects. It's a love thing. I love creating and I love spending time with you guys. Leave me a comment, ask me a question. Until next time, go get creative.